Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining here at Unapologetically Progressive. Once again, I am back with another video, and this time we're going to talk about the suspected shooter of Charlie Kirk. The suspect is a 22-year-old straight white man from Utah, southern Utah, who lived with his parents and for whatever reason hated Charlie Kirk. That's literally all the information we have. Right? That's literally the evidence we have right now. We, you know, he was raised Mormon, raised in a very conservative household. In fact, his family went to church every week, to their Mormon church. And the father was a pastor and a sheriff. So he's a pastor and a cop, his father. This, from all accounts, this child should have grown up to be a conservative leaning person. Here's the thing, we don't know their political views. We don't know this kid's personal political beliefs. We know he hated Charlie Kirk. We know that because of an interview done with a family member who had a discussion about Charlie Kirk just a few days before the shooting took place. They talked about how they didn't like they didn't like some of his political views or his opinions, and how he was hateful. But here's the thing: he was registered to vote, but he had no political affiliation. Back in 2017, he wore a Donald Trump costume because he thought it was fun. He liked Donald Trump. But the thing is, we don't know this person's political affiliation. Until we have more evidence, we won't know. What I can tell you is that conservatives have been lying to the American people for the last 2 days, trying to fan flames of violence and hate, trying to start civil wars and stuff like that, going on places like TikTok and YouTube and saying, this is war. I saw a number of right-wing creators talking about how, we've got to take out all the trans people because this was a trans person, because of a false report put out with the Wall Street Journal that claimed that there were markings all over these bullets and all over the gun, talking about trans rights and trans propaganda and all this other bullshit. None of it was true. The Wall Street Journal should be sued. And I don't know how you sue for defamation of an entire, community of people, but it should happen. The one thing I'm not going to do is sit here and blame an entire group of people for the actions of one idiot. The guy clearly wasn't very smart. From reports, he was arrested in the same clothes they did the shooting in. He hadn't even bothered to change. And another weird and stupid thing, if he had a brain anyway, he would have seen it as stupid, is he got on a public forum, Discord, to convince one of his roommates to go get the gun that the FBI had already recovered. Did this on a public forum where there are other people that could have seen it. Not to mention, the fact that the FBI was already on top of it. But talking to that friend and everything, the father and the friend ended up getting the police to come and arrest him, which is good. Thugs like this don't need to be walking the streets. But the thing is, the right was out there quickly to blame all liberals and blame all trans people for something they had no facts of, regardless of what political party this person ends up being affiliated to. Right? No matter. You can't blame the entire group of people for the actions of one person. Now, we know the majority of mass shooters and shooters in general are straight white men. But we also can't sit there and blame all straight white men for the gun violence. We can blame the people that commit the gun violence. We can blame lax gun laws in some situations. But the one thing I do know is that in America, we don't do anything about gun violence. In fact, Charlie Kirk himself said it was worth a few gun deaths for us to maintain our gun rights. Does that make any sense to you? That you would blame an entire group of people for an incident that a person from a certain community may have done? You blame the entire community for it? And then we find out that after you've blamed an entire community for something they had nothing to do with, you want to tell me now I'm not supposed to be like you? Thing is, I'll never be like those people. I'll never be like the right-wing nuts that blame an entire group of people for the violence carried out by one. That is a belief I have held since 9/11. Because I knew a few Muslim people at my university, and they were being attacked and verbally abused and stuff by people simply because somebody affiliated with Islam had committed a terrible act against the American people. And ever since I saw that, I learned very quickly not to blame an entire group of people for the actions of a few. So I won't blame white men. I won't blame straight people. I won't blame Republicans if this person turns out to be Republican. But let's be clear about something. Since we don't know this person's political affiliation, let me be absolutely clear about something. There are people on the right, just like there are people on the left, that abhor fascism. Let me say that again. There are people on the left and the right that abhor fascism, as any red-blooded American should. We should not be supporting fascism. And from the sounds of it, either this kid, that sound like this kid may not have supported fascism. You know what? I know of a lot of rather conservative people that do not like the direction this country's going, that do not like the idea of fascism in this country. So it wouldn't surprise me if this guy turns out to be a conservative, considering his upbringing. At the same time, we don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and speculate any further on it. But I'm not going to speak his name, because I don't believe thugs should have their names plastered all over the internet. And if you ask me, that's what this man was, or is. Right? The shooter is a thug. And just like I think when it comes to these kind of crimes, I think the death penalty is the only option. And that's not something I come to lightly. I'm not one that supports the death penalty in very many cases. But the fact is, this person carried out this crime for whatever reason. And Charlie Kirk, as much as I hated him, did not deserve to die. Did not deserve to be taken out by a madman with a gun. And last thing I'm going to say, though, there are a lot of people over the last few days, especially on the right, who have been screaming that Charlie Kirk lost his life because of his political views or his opinions. But then yesterday, when there was an event, I forget exactly what the event was. I don't know if it was the hearse carrying his body or what, but somebody let out a big F Charlie Kirk. That person was severely beaten by the crowd. So you're telling me that Charlie Kirk should not have been harmed for his political views, but that person who spoke their opinion didn't deserve the same right. Here's the thing. We don't get to pick and choose what people say. We don't get to pick and choose people's political opinions. Right? People are allowed to say what they want to say. This is the United States of America, where you are free to say whatever you want, regardless of what other people think, and you should not be harmed for it. I don't care if your name's Charlie Kirk. I don't care if you're the person that got beat up for saying F Charlie Kirk. There are a lot of people on the far right that I cannot stand. Charlie Kirk was one of them. But you know what? I saw them as just political adversaries. I did not see them as somebody that deserved to die for their opinions. Yes, I think Charlie Kirk was a despicable human being. But he was a human being who did not deserve to be taken out like that. No, I didn't support him. But I did support his right to say whatever the hell he wanted to say. And now I fear for other people that are going to be out there doing these same kind of sit downs. This is going to scare people from doing that. It's going to scare people from having panel discussions over politics on both sides of the aisle. People should be safe to say what they want to say and have the views they want to have. Let me know in the comments what you think about the shooter, the fact that he turned out to be a straight cisgender white male, and what your thoughts are on the fact that so many people were so quick to blame the trans community and all liberals for the actions of one madman with a gun. I'll see you next week.